While a few of the best New York breds will tackle the world's most elite thoroughbreds in next Saturday's Breeders' Cup at Keeneland.
Close. It looked like F&X edged out totally.
Left the others reeling in her wake. Artemis Agritera.
Many have stayed home to settle divisional battles as the New York Racing Association presents the New York Racing Series Empire Showcase Day next on MSG+. And they've come from far and wide to Belmont Park on a Saturday in which the sights and sounds of autumn are in the air. Fans treated to a Taste New York Fall Festival down in the grandstand. And why don't we switch from one smiling, gentle face to another as we gaze upon the talented 3-year-old filly Wonder Gal, one of the star attractions in today's $250,000 Empire Distaff. And who could forget the old gray millionaire, Discreet Mark? She is sharp. She is ready to rock and roll. And it looks like hanging out in the sandpit at Christophe Clement's barn that she has got her game face on for a potential Ticonderoga defense. We are off and running on this latest series of the New York Racing Series from beautiful Belmont Park on MSG+. It is all about a stakes doubleheader. That's right, the fillies and mares take the spotlight for the next 60 minutes or so here on MSG+, with the Empire Distaff. That will be followed by the Ticonderoga, and we welcome you aboard. We hope you're having a good Saturday so far. It is Jason Blewitt, joined by some Grade 1 competition, or at least co-hosts on our third floor clubhouse studio set. We've got Andy Serling, one of the most respected handicappers in the game. Richard Migliore, former jockey, won over 4,000 races, and this has been a day, guys, that I'd say over the last 2 decades has blossomed into a can't-miss racing day during this meet at Belmont.
I agree. It's really one of the great rites of fall here at Belmont Park, where you get all the good New York breds showing up, big fields, a lot of competition, some nice favorites, and always some upsets along the way.
Well, for me, it always feels like the unofficial dress rehearsal for the Breeders' Cup. It's usually about a week before, and it's a day for the New York Thoroughbred breeders to shine. You have a lot of different types of breeders. You have family-run operations as well as big commercial operations, but on this day, they're all out in force to celebrate the breed.
And just under $2 million in purses over the 8 stakes run throughout day number 33 today at Belmont Park. And we get closer, and we'll have Discreet Mark for you coming up a bit later in the show. But let's talk about the field with 17 minutes to post to the second running of the Empire Distaff Handicap. This one for 3 and up fillies and mares at a mile and a 16th. We are fast and firm, by the way. Bit of an October chill going through the grandstand here, but all in all, a pretty pleasant day in the weather department. Let's focus in off the bat on Hot Stones. She is the old mare in here, and she's had a pretty good year for trainer Bruce Savine. She's put up some good numbers and was so impressive a couple starts back winning the Saratoga Dew.
And what's nice is she came off of a layoff when she'd been very good last year. She lost that form, obviously a bit of an issue. She came back, didn't run that well. It took her some time to put it together, but boy did she put it together in a big way in this race. It was a race, though, a bit of an optical illusion, not much competition behind her, but she ran fast, and she has to be considered the horse to beat.
Very much the horse to beat, because also she's hickory. She shows up pretty much every time, except for, like you said, when she tailed off last year. And the fact that she could get the mile and 1/8, which I question there, the mile and a 16th should be no problem, although the one turn is a bit of a different pace dynamic.
It is a different dynamic, but she showed that she could do it at Belmont at a mile, 3 starts back. I do worry, though, better competition or not, that she ran as poorly, Richie, as she did in the Beldame.
Well, it was a much better race, and I thought she would show more speed that day, and I think she was taking a little bit out of her game. I think you're going to see her up closer to the pace today.
She has to be.
And she has run well here at Belmont Park, and the same could be said for her younger rival, Wonder Gal, who's currently sitting at 3-1 on the board. Second choice. Let's pick up a run in the Mother Goose, a race, Andy. It looked like she would get nothing at the quarter pole and somehow rally to finish pretty well.
It's a real testament to her talent that she was able to re-rally, and most importantly, she was the one who was closest to the pace early that finished far and away the best. An extremely fast pace in here took a toll on the front runners, helped include Betty, a top 3-year-old, get the job done. And she was very game, Wonder Gal, to get second, though amazingly, Richie, she hasn't won a race since her maiden win.
It is amazing, but she's been keeping some pretty elite company, and this is probably the most class relief she's seen since she started her career. But to me, I'm still going to lean on the horse that's won 8 races as opposed to the horse that's won 1. Wonder Gal's still got to show me that she's got that killer instinct, that she's going to fight for it at crunch time.
I think that's a fair analysis. The question is, from a gambling aspect, what's a fair price? Because right now, Hot Stones is 3-2 and Wonder Gal is 3-1. Should she really be twice the price?
Probably not. I mean, because I think they're close. If you're splitting hairs, you go, well, I'm going to go to the one that has a winning habit as opposed to the one that still is eligible for an A other than allowance.
I can't argue with that.
Now, we have seen the owner of Wonder Gal, Jeff Treadway, make a pretty big splash. A fairly new owner in the upper echelon of the game, but he's picked up some good horses, maybe none more impressive or accomplished as Sweet Reason.
No, he's done very well, and Lear Giamatti, his trainer, has done an excellent job, particularly with the horse that Jeff has.
Let's send it down. We've got our other analyst on the air, Maggie Wolfendale from the paddock at beautiful Belmont. How's things downstairs, Maggie?
Thanks, guys. And we're going to start off where you left off, and that is the 3-year-old in here. That's number 9, Wonder Gal, as she emerges out of graded stakes company. First time against New York bred since she broke her maiden year last summer by over 14 lengths here in the Lynbrook. I think she gets back to a distance that she prefers. She's a big, scopy girl. And 2, she looks very fit here for trainer Leah Giamatti. I think with this class relief, despite the tough and tried and true Hot Stones in here, I think she could be a force to be reckoned with. One that was a stakes winner, and a stakes winner breaking her maiden also is number 7, JC Shooting Star. Now, she's gone 2 for 2 when she returned back to the turf in an A other than. I think this filly is just getting better, and there's no doubt in my mind that she will surely handle this mile and a 16th distance. She looks fantastic here for Dave Donk. She is another one of the younger crew, but I think she might be another one that could make an impact here. Looking at, once again, another 3-year-old against the older fillies and mares is number 5, Temperament Patty. Was not thrilled with her overall at all as she came off a little bit of a freshening, going first time out for Todd Pletcher up at Saratoga in the Fleet Indian. Though she has since come back and run well down at Charlestown, albeit physically, though, she does look improved. I have my doubts about this filly and how far she wants to go. To me, she is an out-and-out sprinter. It looks as though 7/8 might be her limit. But for more on Temperament Patty and the rest of the crew in today's Empire Distaff, we'll send it back to you guys.
And Temperament Patty, as we have her on the screen, or had her on the screen, will look to cap a big price Todd Pletcher double. Just scored at over 17-1 in the Maid of the Mist. A rare big price on the Pletcher barn with a sudden surprise.
Yeah, got the job done for Mike Rapoli, who also bought Temperament Patty 3 races back. And, you know, it's interesting, and I think Maggie makes a good point about perhaps her wanting less distance. Now, she did win a mile and a 16th at Finger Lakes around 2 turns, but overall, Richie, she's never really shown that she wants the distance.
No, and I think she caught a track that day that was playing to inside speed, and she got loose, and it basically was like a conveyor belt. It just carried her along. And also, I think the competition might have been somewhat suspect that day.
I totally agree. I don't know why she's 9-2, and I agree with Maggie again, who mentioned the 7, JC Shooting Star, who beat her to mile and 1/8 at Saratoga, and she seems to be improving with every start, and distance won't be a problem for her. I don't know if she's good enough, but I prefer her to Temperament Patty.
Yeah, I would agree. But don't you think the Todd Pletcher factor is probably what is figuring into this equation here? People see Todd Pletcher, and he wins so often, you can't really go against him.
No, that's a very good point, Richie, but that makes that horse Nunderley. She just went to 7-2. To me, she's a complete pitch.
And she's coming back to her home track after checking in third, beaten, or I should say second, beaten just a couple of lengths by Hot City Girl, who scratched out of the Iroquois earlier today. We had a good feel of the Iroquois. In fact, a number of top-class undercard stakes to the card. We will bring you the stretch runs in a few moments, and we want to remind you to hop on board NYRA.com. Only jockeys get closer to the action. We have a current $125 deposit match bonus going on. It's a click of the mouse away. One-stop shopping for all things Belmont Park. And, of course, next Saturday and Fridays, Breeders' Cup 32 at Keeneland. Quick timeout. We'll catch up with Leah Giamatti, and we'll talk about some wagering strategies on the Empire Distaff when we come back. Welcome back to beautiful Belmont Park. Good to see some smiling faces downstairs. The craft fair has been a big success over the years, and Belmont was buzzing down on the first floor of the grandstand as the horses have made their way into the walking ring beneath the mighty elm tree here in the paddock at Belmont Park. A big crowd on hand, and as Mick said at the top, this is a day where the breeders and many owners in the state come out, and the proof is in the picture. We have another number of people conversing downstairs, and we are looking at the three Hail Marys for the very unstable. She's been a bit of an overachiever at times, but her last few races have left a little to be desired.
They may need to say a few more than 3 Hail Marys if they're looking to get the money with her, Richie.
Yeah, it just seems like when she's kind of stepped up into this tougher company beaten 10 lengths by Hot Stones in the Saratoga Due in Saratoga, she's going to have to really raise her game.
I will say she's better around one turn at Belmont. And in fairness, when you look at her PPs, slop last time, turf before that, and 2 turns at Saratoga. The 2 prior efforts, including the critical eye on a showcase day that we talked about last spring, she actually ran pretty well to be second to Sharifa, so maybe she isn't totally impossible.
And she does pick up a very hot rider in Erod Ortiz Jr., who has nearly 50 wins during this meet and is perhaps one of the favorites to finish in the top 3 for Eclipse Award voting for champion jockey.
Had a sensational year, Richie.
Yeah, and when you see when a young rider's confidence level goes through the roof like that, and he has the physical skills to match that, it's just a pretty formidable combination.
And he fits this horse very well because he has a patient running style. And with a long shot, you don't want to get too involved. And she's the kind of horse that can make a run at the end. It's going to be tough to beat the 2 favorites in this race, but she, along with the 1 Tahoe Tigress, might be the kind of horses that could at least pick up a piece.
Well, I always said when I was on horses like this going into a race with a big purse, I was riding to get a check. If I rode them well to be third, if other guys made mistakes, you could get lucky and get the big check.
And we've got Sam the Bugler with the call to the post as the field makes its way out of the tunnel at Belmont Park. And up first, the number 1 Tahoe Tigress. She's been a good claim for Jeremiah Englehart, the trainer. Jose Ortiz is the jockey, and she is owned by Neil Allred. The number 2, Jules and Rome, was scratched. Number 3, Say 3 Hail Marys for the very unstable John Morrison. And Belmont's leading rider, Erod Ortiz Jr., is aboard. The other scratch out of the Empire Distaff, the number 4 Star Grazing. As we check out the 5, Temperament Patty, a 2-time or 3-time winner, going out for Rapoli Stable for Todd Pletcher and jockey Luis Saez, followed by a long shot at 13-1. The number 6, Kathy's Humor, owns a couple of lifetime victories. Elvis Trujillo, the rider, for trainer Richard Violet Jr. And here is the homebred JC Shooting Star for the Shooting Star Stable. Manuel Franco up for trainer David Donk. And the current favorite not far behind her with the pink saddle towel, the number 8 Hot Stone. She's a graded stakes winner over the main track at Belmont Park. She's got 8 wins to her credit. Hall of Famer John Velasquez is up for owner breeder Roddy Valente and trainer Bruce Levine. The number 9 Wonder Gal, she's the 3-year-old trying to defeat older horses for Leah Giamatti, Treadway Racing Stable, and jockey Jose Lascano. And rounding out the field of 10 is the 10, Carry Me Away. Javier Castellano for trainer Mitch Freeman. Richard Greeley with this 5-year-old mare by Lawyer Ron as Maggie stands by with trainer Leah Giamatti.
Thanks, guys. And Leah, this squirrel master, she is otherwise known, but also the trainer of Wonder Gal. Leah, last time out in the test, going 7/8, bit of a disappointing effort, maybe not the same Wonder Gal that we've seen. Other than kind of stumbling at the start, were there any apparent excuses for her in that last start?
She did bleed in that race, which has never happened in a race before, so that's pretty much what I'm attributing her performance to. I don't know that the start really affected her much at all.
And getting back out to the mile on the 16th against New York Breds, how do you feel about her today against some older fillies and mares? And how has she been training up to this start?
She's doing really well. She's been training fantastic. She looks as good as she's ever looked, so I'm very happy about that. I like going back to New York Breds, but like you said, the older fillies and mares, that's always a challenge, even in the New York bred ranks. And in this race especially, we have a couple nice horses. Hot Stone's obviously a very, very, very nice filly, and we'll see what she does.
Leah, best of luck as you return back to New York Breds with Wonder Gal.
Thank you.
Former jockey turned trainer Leah Giamatti's done pretty well for herself regarding her role and skills in running an operation and training a decent group of thoroughbreds. And Jeff Treadway, once again, has kind of put her on the map. It's been a very good match with those two combined.
And Leah, of course, worked for Alan Jerkins, the late Alan Jerkins, and that's where she will be the first one to credit him. She learned most of her skills.
Yeah, it's hard not to be around Alan Jerkins and not have some of that horsemanship rub off. And you can see a lot of the things she does, working horses 7 furlongs, a mile, that's old school. That's Alan Jerkins' influence.
And not surprisingly, it's working out pretty well for Leah.
It is.
Absolutely.
Wonder Gal's been very solid, banking just shy of $600,000. Now, she breaks from that second-to-last post in what is now an 8-horse cast of the Empire Distaff. How will the race be run? They've got that long run down the backstretch, given this race at a mile and a 16th. And here is the Timeform U.S. pace projector that predicts Carry Me Away from the outside to be the controlling speed.
Well, you know Javier's going to go, and John Velasquez, the last thing he wants to do at Hot Stones, and Jose Lescano to a lesser extent, is get inside of a duel with Carry Me Away. So both those horses would ideally like Carry Me Away to be able to clear. Now, it's a bit of a chess match, Richie, behind them with John Velasquez and Jose Lescano outside of him. Does Jose want to let Johnny get that easy stalking position?
Yeah, I think he'd have to use Wonder Gal, although watching Wonder Gal gallop off, she looks like she is kind of fresh and really on the muscle. So she might put Jose Lescano there without him even having to ask for it. Also, Javier Castellano rode Hot Stones last time in a Grade 1. I'm sure he wants to make sure she doesn't have an easy time of it.
No, it'll be interesting to see those 3 horses on the outside.
How are you betting this race? The analysis is all fine and good, but we want to make some money. What's the play?
I'm trying to keep it simple here. While I think the one, Tahoe Tigress, is an interesting horse to get a small piece, I like Wonder Gal and I'm betting 100 to win on her.
Well, we are covering 2 races for you live here on the New York Racing Series, and I'll combine both the Ticonderoga and the Distaff Classic for the 3-and-up fillies and mares, and I'm going to play a little double here, keying in on Hot Stones, who is now the 7-5 favorite for trainer Bruce Levine, and combining her on my big double ticket with Discreet Mark, who is looking for back-to-back wins in the Ticonderoga, and a couple more savers, smaller savers, if you will, $10 doubles, Hot Stones with Distorted Beauty and Old Harbor, who I think, and we'll certainly talk about the Ticonderoga a bit more, I think are the main danger to Discreet Mark.
Be an interesting race when we get to it. I agree with you, though, that these 2 horses, the favorites, once again, Richie, they look like the right 2 horses, nothing particularly clever.
Well, and watching them warm up as now they're making their way to the training track to go back to the mile and an 1/8 shoot, and they're starting at the mile and a 16th pole. They were a standout on the racetrack as well. Wonder Gal looked fabulous going off. Had a nice gallop, settled beautifully in as they make their walk onto the training track, as did Hot Stones. Hot Stones wasn't warmed up aggressively, but I think Johnny Velasquez knows her so well. He wasn't looking to maybe ignite her too much, just get her over there in good order. A horse we need to keep an eye on, who I don't think's a contender, but could act up around the gate, is the 6 Kathy Zumer. I talked to Roy Williamson, our starter, and she's a filly. You'll watch the starting gate crew's going to have to come out and get her with a lead shank, lead her up to the gate, and she can be a handful in the gate, and sometimes when they act up, they can upset horses around them. So it's just something to keep an eye out for.
I also think, Richie, I'm going to disagree a little with that Timeform pace projector and say that she's a horse that could find herself forwardly placed in here. Elvis Trujillo rides her, an aggressive rider, trying to make a mark in New York. She's coming out of some distance races, and she stalked a little bit last time, but a fairly quick pace, and she has some sprints going back, so I don't think she's going to be that far off the pace, and if you're right and she's acting up, that might propel her a little bit more early.
Well, especially if she gets off to a good start, because sometimes when horses act up in the gate, the opposite happens. They have to reset, or they're not as balanced as they should be. But to be honest with you, when I watched her going over onto the training track, she looked a little bit more on edge, and she seemed to have settled down a bit more, which is a good sign as they're heading towards the starting gate.
Well, she certainly is coming off one of her better efforts, and surprisingly, she's improved on both the turf, but also with distance, because she comes off a distance where in the dirt, albeit with a perfect trip.
So we'll see what shakes out in the early stages of this race. And, guys, how important or how key is the pace with Hot Stones, a horse that does have a high cruising speed?
Well, it's important, and it's also important because the speed is a horse on the outside. And as we talked about before, I mean, I have to think, Richie, the worst position you could get as a rider is riding one of the favorites but getting pinned towards the inside by a long shot with speed.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You want to let her clear you and then get out to the outside and be unencumbered. You don't want to feel like you're under pressure having a horse outside of you. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I've thought the rail's been a bit on the dead side all day. It seems to me horses have been running better in the 3, 4, and 5 paths.
I'm not sure it wasn't situational because I've talked to some people that asked me if they thought the rail was good. But around the racetrack, there's so much biased talk. I don't care, Richie, on a fair racetrack. I totally agree with you. You want to be outside and unencumbered if possible.
No problems with the old school Belmont balcony move today with a few of the races we saw earlier on the card, including the Sleepy Hollow, as we have track announcer Larry Colmus a week away from calling Breeders' Cup 32 at Keeneland. He'll continue on with the load, and the big question, how does Hot Stones run, dropping out of the Grade 1 Beldame, and can the 3-year-old filly Wonder Gal step up and defeat older horses for the first time for trainer Leah Giamatti? She's taking her place in the starting gate beneath Jose Lascano, and it does appear, guys, at this point, the number 6 Kathy's Humor fairly well behaved as they gingerly bring her up to the starting gate, carry me away on the outside with Javier Castellano, and let's see what shakes out the second running of the Empire Distaff as we send it up to Larry.
All in line. Straightening out Caramy away in the gate here. They're off in the Empire Distaff. Hot Stones comes out running well with Caramy away, Kathy's Humor, and on the inside it's Temperament Petty. And then it's Wonder Gal out running in 5th, followed by Say 3 Hail Marys, and to the outside JC Shooting Star. Tahoe Tigress is last early on as the field heads up the backstretch, and the leader is Caramy Away. Caramy Away on top 3/4 of a length. Hot Stones and Wonder Gal right behind. Kathy's Humor is 4th. After that comes Temperament Patty, 5th up the backstretch and 5 lengths off the lead. 3.5 more back to Say 3 Hail Marys. JC Shooting Star to the outside, and Tahoe Tigress trails the field. 22-4 was the first quarter as they move into the far turn, and it is Caramy Away the leader. Hot Stones is down on the inside, and they went 45-2 for a half mile. And Wonder Gal is right up on this hot pace, running in 3rd by 2. Then it's Kathy's Humor, Temperament Patty, 2.5 lengths back to JC Shooting Star, who moves around Say 3 Hail Marys, and Tahoe Tigress is last of them all. It is Hot Stones who's taken the lead. Wonder Gal is second. Giving way is Caramy Away. Temperament Patty ranges up on the outside. A wide run for JC Shooting Star, who's putting in a bid 4 deep. And Kathy's Humor squeezes through an opening on the inside. Tahoe Tigress is trying to close into. They're into the stretch. Wonder Gal in front. Hot Stones has dropped back. On the outside, JC Shooting Star. Temperament Patty is 3rd. Late run up the inside from Say 3 Hail Marys. Final 16th. Wonder Gal to catch. Temperament Patty. JC Shooting Star. Say 3 Hail Marys. Wonder Gal wins it. And then it was Temperament Patty, JC Shooting Star, and Say 3 Hail Marys.
3-year-old sweep the exacta. It was Wonder Gal dropping out of a slew of Grade 1 competition to get the money in this race. A nice ride out in the clear from the break beneath Jose Lascano.
No, what you said certainly came to fruition. They're being outside. But, Richie, this was a much faster pace than we expected. And Wonder Gal was clearly best in this race.
She was, because she got involved early, much earlier than I thought she would, as fast as they were going. Jose Lascano did something very, very smart as Temperament Patty rallied up on the outside to engage him. He kind of pointed his filly out to him within the boundaries of the rules and went out to meet the challenge, and Wonder Gal was up to the test. She really drew off powerfully.
Leah really had her ready off the layoff to get it done. Amazingly, just for her second career victory, I'll tell you something, Richie, the late money was right. There was a big discrepancy, and we originally talked, and she and Hot Stones ended up a very similar price.
You're very close, but they weren't close at the finish.
9,573. We'll have the official prices. We'll catch up with the connections, and when we come back, I think Andy Serling's got a potential short-priced horse in next Saturday's $5 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Jose Loscano alongside the Outrider pony riding today's Empire Distaff winner. That is Wonder Gal, as Maggie stands by with the winners.
Well, Leah, I'm glad I wasn't a jinx for you doing the interview beforehand. But Wonder Gal, she was ultra impressive. What did you think about her trip? Was it your plan to have her press such quick fractions?
No, I just told him be very, very easy with your hands because she has a tendency to overreact if you grab her. It's happened a few times. I was a little nervous when I saw her where she was and I saw the fractions. But I guess I shouldn't have been nervous. I mean, she was great. It was great. It was fantastic. Fantastic.
Leah, staying with New York Breds, are we going to see her step back up into Great Estates Company?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Well, she was very impressive here today, Leah. You're smiling ear to ear. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Maggie. You are now my good luck charm.
Yes, thank goodness.
You before every race, please.
Okay, we got it. Leah and I, every race,
Aqueduct.
doesn't matter in the freezing cold. Guys, back to you.
It's up.
Right. Thanks very much, Maggie. Good duo down there in the Belmont Park Winner's Circle. And Wonder Gal, very talented, a more than suitable, I think, replacement for Sweet Reason, who was entered, guys, a couple days after the Breeders' Cup in that Facing Tipton November sale. She'll go for quite a bit of money.
Well, Sweet Reason had a terrific career, and perhaps this is the kind of race that Wonder Gal can build on, and she get her win under her belt. Maybe she can go on to bigger, better things. Perhaps the Comely, which is run on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, could be a start for her at Aqueduct.
I really believe in that, Andy. I think horses, if you think about boxers, if they get beat up a couple of times or get knocked out, they need a tune-up fight or two to get their confidence back, get into a winning rhythm. It's the same thing with horses. Horses lose confidence when they're continually facing better horses. I think this is something she definitely can build on, and she is a talented filly.
And I also like the way she showed fight in here, Jay. I really thought that it was an impressive win because it was a fast pace. They came to her, and she was determined.
And it was a completely dichotomous effort to Hot Stones, who chased inside and quite simply was on E by the time they hit the quarter pole.
Well, I think with Hot Stones, and we're saying it in retrospect, better horse or not, her last race was not a good effort, and she came back with another bad effort. She ran well earlier this year, not so good later.
You wonder if that effort in Saratoga when she ran so hard going the mile and 8 wasn't basically a race that knocked her more backwards than people would have realized.
Trifecta all about the youngsters. 3-year-old fillies, first, second, and third in the second running of the Empire Distaff. 580 on the late money. The late money spot on there at 580, 380, 290 on Wonder Gal. Temperament Patty for Todd Fletcher and Luis Saez rounded out the exact at 5 even and 360. And JC Shooting Star for the Barter Trader David Dog checked in third, 570 to show. We hope you hit everything, including that pick 3 that paid a little over $500 as we have the trophy presentation forthcoming for the Empire Distaff and a look at Jeff Treadway. And good to see Jeff and even some younger owners who have been very successful regarding their personal ventures get involved in the game. We like seeing that.
No question about it. He is very involved in the game, and nice to see him go into the winner's circle, Richie, with a couple of little kids. Hopefully they'll be around a long time in the game.
Well, you saw Jose Loscano taking goggles off and handing them to the kids. Nothing like a pair of goggles to make a kid a fan. It hooked me about 40 years ago.
And good old Mike Luzzy got me a pair at the Big A. I was out there on a cold January day back in 10th grade. I never forgot it. So we've got a lot more racing action to bring you on the show today. Obviously, Discreet Mark, the star attraction, looking for a title defense in the Ticonderoga. And what else happened today on Showcase Day? Let's send it to Larry Colmus for the calls of the Sleepy Hollow, Hudson, Iroquois, Empire Classic, Mohawk, and Maid of the Mist.
Fourth, it's Get Jets. Rod Ortiz Jr. and Get Jets have won the Sleepy Hollow. Over Fish Trap Road, Governor Malibu, and Sudden Surprise was fourth. Palace on the outside. These three come by the 8th pole, and here comes Palace now. And Palace runs for the lead. Takes over at the 16th pole from Weekend Hideaway, Captain Sirius and Drama King. Palace in the Hudson. Captain Sirius was second, and then Weekend Hideaway and Drama King. On with Tricky Zippy trying to come and get her. On the outside comes Willett in third. Laver Dodd has opened up 4 lengths here. Tricky Zippy is next, and then it's Willett. And on the inside, Make the Moment. The truth is she was much the best in the Iroquois. Laver Dodd over Tricky Zippy, and then it was Make the Moment. As they come into the final furlong, it is Empire Dreams to the front. Empire Dreams on the outside of Royal Posse coming down to the line. Empire Dreams, Royal Posse making a race of it late. Empire Dreams wins the Empire Classic. And then it was Royal Posse, followed by Full of Miles right behind him. Carafa takes the lead. Lubash has found a spot to the outside. Here he comes. And it is going to be Carafa and Lubash. These two will come down to the line together. Lubash with dead aim on Carafa. Lubash, Carafa. Lubash on the outside. Carafa to the inside. Lubash, get it in the Mohawk. Over Carafa, Iron Power.
Avanzando por la parte exterior también. El comando lo mantiene por 2 cuerpos y medio. Frosty Margarita dominado por 2 cuerpos. Segundo va entrando Super Surprise. El comando lo mantiene Frosty Margarita 2 cuerpos. Super Surprise cerrando. Super Margarita mantiene un cuerpo. Super Surprise avanzando. Super Margarita una cabeza. Super Surprise pasando viaje. Super Surprise a Frosty Margarita. Tercera está arribando She's Already.
And that made it a missed call down to the wire. Not Andy Serling. That was our Spanish track announcer, Luis Granderson. You can catch him with the click of the mouse on Naira.com. 3.2 the channel here on track at Belmont. And, of course, over at the Big A and Aqueducts Long Shots, a state-of-the-art simulcast facility. Always nice hearing Luis, and a nice call there, the maid of the mist. And the stakes action, guys, we had a few big short price favorites and a number of box office stars, and a number of them stepped up and delivered, including La Verdad, who was sensational in the Iroquois.
It's incredible, Richie. 16 for 23 lifetime with 2 career seconds, one by a nose to Artemis Agriterra and the Gallant Bloom last year. And I believe, and we talked about this, the first time she's ever been able to rate off of horses and win.
When I saw her in behind horses early, I was concerned for her. But then you could see about the 3/8 pole, the way she took Jose Ortiz into the race. I wasn't surprised she won as impressively as she did. I was surprised by the style.
And this might be the swan song for La Verdad, who, as you said, is now 16 for 22. She is entered as a broodmare prospect in that Face and Tipton November sale. If you go to that sale, you better bring some money, because there are going to be a number of horses going for some serious cash as Jose Ortiz just basically wraps up on her.
And what's pretty cool is that Hot City Gal, the whole other horse owned by the same connections, trained by Linda Rice, was scratched when La Verdad ran, and she's a half-sister. So this dam has been an incredible producer of talented sprinters with speed.
She really has been. And the fact that they've got the older sister for sale, but they've got the younger sister to carry on the flag, so to speak. But, you know, it's interesting. As good a race mares as they could be, they've still got to prove it all over again in the breeding shed. And we've seen some really good race horses not be as good in the breeding shed.
I agree, but do you wonder, because her dam was such a good producer, that maybe she'll be one too?
All you can do is hope.
Time will tell. We'll wait down the road, but best of luck if indeed today's Iroquois was La Verdad's last start. Wish her the best. She was a lot of fun to watch run and evolve over the last couple of seasons. As we bring on the filly and mares in the Ticonderoga, this will be our second and final race. In fact, race number 11 on this Saturday card at Belmont Park. Most eyes in this big field, and we'll have Larry Colmus calling, will be on the gray Discreet Mark, who's got to rebound off a poor effort at Saratoga.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm against horses like this. Maybe she just wasn't herself that day, but she is beating Old Harbor in this race last year that we're looking at. But now Old Harbor is set to take position as the leader of this division. And to me, I want the horses at bigger prices that represent the future, not the good horses that represent the past.
Well, I understand and respect what you're saying, particularly from a wagering standpoint. But I really do think that Discreet Mark is back on her game, and for a number of reasons. The day in Saratoga was a pretty warm day when she ran last time. To me, watching her visually, I didn't think she sweated as much, and horses need to sweat, particularly on a hot day. She gets a cool afternoon, and I do not believe Christophe Clement would be running her unless she touted him in the morning, showed him that she was 110% again, because she has such great value as a broodmare as well.
Well, on that note, let's see what her trainer, Christophe Clement, said to Maggie yesterday.
The gray mare, the multimillionaire, Discreet Mark here, Christophe. Looking at the Ticonderoga, disappointing effort last time in the Yaddo. Is there any apparent excuses for out of that effort?
Yeah, I think we should blame the trainer. I don't think he had a fit enough in that race. The filly fooled me a little bit with the way she trained in the morning. I've been a bit more aggressive stance, and the works have been remarkable, and I think she's very fit tomorrow.
Well, Christophe, you have bigger things ahead. Looking forward to next weekend with the Breeders' Cup sending 4 out. Obviously, Red Vine in the Dirt Mile, Hard Not to Like in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, as well as Pure Sensation, the Turf Sprint, and Tonalist in the Classic. All 4 are here. What are your plans of getting them down to Keeneland?
Well, really, they're all doing well here, so I'll try to keep them here as long as I can. As of now, they're due to, they're expected to fly on Monday afternoon, and it's pretty exciting.
Now, you have to be pleased with the way that the race is shaping up for the dirt mile with Red Vine. What do you think his chances are in there?
Well, I think he's been very nice all year long and pretty consistent. It's obviously a very tough race. Todd Zorsliam's map will be very tough. He was very impressive in Saratoga. But I don't think he should duck one race because of one horse, because as we all know, anything can happen. He's trained well. Red Vine had his last work this morning with Joel Rosario. So his last two breezes have been really nice. I saw this race in the Kelso was a strong race. So let's go and we'll see what happens.
Tonalist, the big name on the Breeders' Cup card. But, people are kind of naysayers that he's only a Belmont horse. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I just think he's a top-class horse. I don't really care too much about Belmont or wherever. But that's okay. He's been training great. He will have his final work tomorrow with Johnny V, and we'll go to Keeneland after that.
Well, Christophe, good luck with Discreet Mark as well as your Breeders' Cup runners.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see if Christophe Camont gets off to a good run heading into the Breeders' Cup with the old gray mare, 9-time winner Discreet Mark, who's banked a little over $1 million throughout her career. Christophe, of course, also has Tonalist, 2-time Gold Cup winner and a Belmont winner, running against Racing's 12 Triple Crown winner and American Pharaoh. As we preview and talk a bit about the main contenders in this coming Saturday's $5 million Breeders' Cup Classic. What is the story with AP going into the last start of his career?
Well, his connections got a real boost when Liam's map, in my opinion, is foolishly being run in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile instead of the Classic, because he doesn't have that tough speed horse to deal with. So he looks like he's going to be the horse in the front end controlling the race, and I think he's going to be very much the horse to beat. The problem is, Richie, from a betting standpoint, he's going to be overbet.
Well, he may be overbet, but boy, he certainly looks like he's got control of the race pace-wise. But the key to that is Beholder, who we're watching here win the Breeders' Cup Distaff in 2013. She is the one who can take it to him at some stage of the race, and how intensely she puts the pressure on him is the key to it.
No question about it. I agree 100%, Richie, and a lot for that reason. She is the one who's going to take money in here. I am completely against. I will be betting against Beholder in all positions.
Here is your Met Mile and Whitney winner honor code, who will try to stretch out in what could be the last start of his career to get the 1.25 miles for Shug McGahee.
He surprised us when he got 1 1/8 in this race, but he got a very fast pace, so I cannot be shocked by anything he does in 1.25 miles. And I'll tell you something, Richie, he's been training brilliantly for this race.
And that's the key to it, how well he's been training right now. But I hope that he gets some sort of pace to run at, because he is pace dependent.
FNX, the New York bred, will try to become the first state bred ever to win the $5 million Classic. He's a bit of an in-and-outer, and he's been a little fickle at times, but his A effort's pretty good.
His A effort is good, and he likes 1.25 miles, but his recent races aren't good enough. He was no match whatsoever for Tonalist at Belmont, the Jockey Club Gold Cup. And alluding to what Maggie said about Tonalist before, I disagree wholeheartedly with people that think he's only a Belmont horse. He has run well in Florida. He's run well in Saratoga. Belmont is the track where he's running the biggest races and won. I think he can do it at any racetrack.
I would agree with that. A good horse doesn't need a particular track. He makes his own trips, and I think he's fine. Although FNX may be a horse that Keeneland won't be good for, because he does have a tendency at times to bear out. We saw him basically run out of the race. I believe it was in the Suburban, if I'm not mistaken.
The Brooklyn.
The Brooklyn, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
So we need to kind of keep an eye on that. I do think he's better at Belmont.
If a guy is going, or a trainer's going to get a big effort at a big price at a big race, it might just be Jimmy Jerkins with the state bred FNX. And we want you to watch and wager on the Breeders' Cup at beautiful Belmont Park, and of course over at the NYRA.com. Some more Breeders' Cup chatter coming up. Are we taking a little time out? No, let's send it down to Maggie for more in the paddock.
That's right, guys. Fillies and mares are here for today's Ticonderoga, and we'll start off with the main two, coming out of that John Hettinger back here on September 20th at Belmont. Now, the top finisher is breaking from the outside today, and that is Old Harbor, a filly whom I've always loved, and she always looks fantastic here in the paddock. And I was surprised, I'll admit, that she was able to get the 1 1/8. She seemed to be a 7/8 kind of specialist, going back to her previous form. But maybe it's a factor of her getting older, her getting more mature and rateable. We'll see if she can pull it through here once again, going the mile on a 16th. But once again, she looks fantastic. Then we'll check in with the Teacups, who is who has gotten pretty good this year for Jeremiah Englehart, and she shows it here in the paddock. She is dappled head to toe. She looks phenomenal. Probably one of the best times I've seen her. So we'll see if she can bring her A game against these, as the water is a bit deeper because of the presence of the gray mare in here. That's number 5, Discreet Mark. $1.2 million in earnings for her. Now, we heard what Christoph said about her disappointing effort last time out. She's a bit of a funny, fickle filly to train. So he has said that he has turned the screws a bit tighter with her heading into this one, and I can see it. She looks very fit to me. She's also behaving very nicely, which is something that Christoph has said she can have a problem with. She can be a little bit antsy. So she has her pony here, and everything seems to be A-okay with Discreet Mark. But guys, I know you have some thoughts about her, as I'll send it back to you guys for today's Ticonderoga.
Right, she's got to put that disappointing effort in the Yado behind her. As we have 10 minutes on the clock, time will tell. The public really likes her, though. 3-2, the current price on Discreet Mark. There is no fear with the chalk players. They are going all in on this filly by Discreet Cat.
And in my opinion, they're making a mistake. She is way over bet, and Richie may very well be right about what he said, and he's talking about her from a standpoint not involving betting. She's an underlay because she's got some serious competition as well.
And we'll talk about the competition, the entire cast of the $200,000 Ticonderoga, all that and more coming away on the New York Racing Series. Brightly lit silk room at Belmont Park. The colors, well, just about as lush and bright as the fall foliage on the backstretch. Autumn is in the air at Belmont. An October chill. I want an equisizer, for my living room, and we do have some riders who have taken their places aboard their mounts in this upcoming Ticonderoga with 8 minutes to post, and focused in on a pretty good horse, in fact, for Bruce Levine, Distorted Beauty, who's 6 for 14 lifetime.
Yeah, I think Distorted Beauty is a major player in here. Now, she has a full sister, Invading Humor. It could be a key to the race because she's the one who could potentially take a Discreet Mark early. Now, whether the connections want to do that or not remains to be seen. But to me, Distorted Beauty's last race, a throw out in soft turf in the Flower Bowl. Her prior effort at Saratoga shows she could be getting back into her best form. Rosalind finished third in a Grade 1 up in Canada next start. Grisol's won at Belmont, and I think that shows that she is a real player in this race and fast enough to win.
She's a real player in this race for two other reasons as well. The fact that, and maybe you should talk about the pace projecting first.
Well, it shows the Discreet Mark could be able to control. And if that's the case, it may help her chances. And I think for that reason, Invading Humor is a very big key in here. But you know what, Richie? The 12 Old Harbor has the speed to be close. And I can't imagine she's going to let Discreet Mark get away with murder on the front end.
Well, absolutely. I think Discreet Mark has an X on her back. Old Harbor's going to have to key her race off of her. But briefly getting back to Distorted Beauty, she's got the inside post on the Widener turf. It's an advantage. She's going to save ground. She's going to get a good trip, and she's been very successful on this course, and I really put a lot of credence in that.
Well, her effort last year in the Pebbles, which came around this time of the year when she ran a brilliant race and was just run down by Lady Laura, who's a quality Grade 2 type performer, that showed that she's good enough to win this race, even as Discreet Mark runs one of her better races.
Well, and don't you think that the other filly is in here to keep things honest, Invading Humor? They're the same owners, the same breeder, the same trainer.
And sisters, full sisters facing each other.
I would think that. Whether or not the connections agree with our thinking remains to be seen. I definitely think Invading Humor gives them their best chance because, in my opinion, her best race can't win this, Richie.
I think they're going to do their best impersonation of the Tanaka brothers and tag team them.
Well, we'll see if that works out. That's the way I would like it to play out because I'm betting and I have bet on Distorted Beauty.
All right, we've got Sam the Bugler's caught to the post in the background as Distorted Beauty, the 4-year-old filly by Invasor, leads off the post parade for Jose Ortiz, Bloodlines Racing Partnerships, and trader Bruce Levine. Neck of the Moon will follow her. Leading trader Chad Brown unleashed a good-looking firster earlier today. He'll give Irad Ortiz a leg up on this one for Hidden Brook Farm. Selenite for trader David Donk, who's won this race a couple of times, Cosmonaut filly for Manny Franco. Unbelievable Dream. I've always liked her. She doesn't win all that often. She's a very big price for trainer Barkley Tagg. 34-1 with Junior Alvarado up in the irons. And here is the gray looking to win back-to-back Ticonderogas. 4 fillies have done it in the past. We'll see if Discreet Mark for Migliore stud, Christophe Camont, and John Velasquez is up to the task. A chilly 59-1 on Graceful Gal for trainer Leo O'Brien and rider Dylan Davis. And here is the older full sister to Distorted Beauty. That is Invading Humor, the 7-horse, Jose Lascano and trainer Bruce Levine. There she goes galloping away. The number 8, Swear By It, for owner breeder Lawrence Goishman, Javier Castellano, and Chad Brown's second runner in the Ticonderoga. The Very Unstable picked up a piece in the Super in the Empire Distaff, and they are back with John Morrison and Mahjong Madness with Angel Arroyo. And getting towards the outside, the number 10, the Teacups, who won the Yaddo 2 starts back at Saratoga for trainer Jeremiah Engelhardt. She'll have Luis Saez aboard at 123 pounds. Badon, 99-1 for trainer Gabriel Goodwin and Samuel Camacho Jr. And last but not least, she's a good one, very consistent, Old Harbor, Elvis Trujillo for trainer Russell Cash, a 5-time winner who owns 3 lifetime scores at beautiful Belmont Park. Is she poised for the upset, Old Harbor? We'll break down her chances. We'll talk a bit more about Discreet Mark, and we'll tell you how we're betting the Ticonderoga after this quick break. Who could go wrong on a day like today at Belmont Park? The Taste New York Fall Festival, first floor of the grandstand, the great thoroughbred racing action, and fillies and mares ready to clash in the 35th running of the $200,000 Ticonderoga. This is the New York Racing Series. Jason Blewitt, Andy Serling, Richard Migliore, down to business. Hot Stones didn't run well for me in the distaff. I'm looking to get that money back with a couple of exactas here. Basically King, Discreet Mark on top of the 2 that I think are most dangerous. The 1 Distorted Beauty and the 12 Old Harbor. And just for some insurance, I'll take a $4 exacta box with the 3 of those horses in case Discreet Mark happens to run out. How are you, Mr. Serling, off Wonder Gal playing this race?
I just feel I've got a little money to play with after getting home that 9-5 shot in the prior race, and I want to bet against the favorite. I think 6-5 is ludicrous, actually, on Discreet Mark. I'm betting 40 to win on Distorted Beauty of my $100, and then I've got 60 left. I'm going to make a $10 exacta box of the 1 Distorted Beauty, the 10, the Teacups, and the 12 Old Harbor. I am trying to beat Discreet Mark. I think she is a big underlay at 6-5.
Well, I just, I'm not wagering, but looking at it purely from a horseman's standpoint, watching them warm up, Andy, they left the pony with the 7 Invading Humor, meaning they broke away from their lead horse. And it was warmed up very aggressively, which leads me to believe that Bruce Levine told Jose Lascano, really warm her up and get her out of the gate running. Usually that's what you do. You put a horse on their feet by leaving the pony warming up aggressively. I think Discreet Mark, she was aggressive without being warmed up. You could see she was on edge, and maybe it's just a matter of being fresh. She hasn't run in a little bit, and she seemed a bit on edge, and I think she's going to put Johnny Velasquez right on the pace, and the key is what Invading Humor is going to do.
Do you think that potentially that could work against Discreet Mark because she's keen, and you think Distorted Beauty is going to go with her, or Invading Humor is going to go with her early?
Well, absolutely, and I think that's the key, Johnny getting her settled down. You can see her walking here. She's settled, but she's on the bridle. Her head's bowed a little bit, and she's just got a little tension in the reins, even though she did settle down a little bit more after warming up. Interesting, though, complete opposite. The 12, Old Harbor, basically jogged to the gate, barely warmed up at all. They took it very easy getting over there with her. I think their intent, without cover, to getting her to settle. They're probably anticipating some sort of a pace battle, and she's a filly that can show speed at times. It seems like they wanted to keep her quiet.
Based on what you saw out there, if you had to bet, it sounds to me like you might bet the 12.
Yeah, the way they warmed her up and the way she went over there, I think I would lean towards the 12 because I think tactically they are going to try to compromise Discreet Mark's trip. And I like Discreet Mark going in, but I think she is going to get engaged.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how things play out. Listen, Discreet Mark is the old pro in a lot of ways. From a sentimental point of view, Jason, you'd like to see her run well here, but I'm not a sentimentalist. I'm a gambler.
Well, this is a gambling game. This is not a spectator sport. We're not playing or wagering for matchsticks. We're betting real money, as Discreet Mark has since gone down to even money off your little speech.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's a 12-horse field. You've got some real players in the 1, the 10, the 12, and they're just being basically ignored. And the public almost magnetically is going in a Discreet Mark as though her last race doesn't exist. And I don't care. Her last race exists.
And I think there were reasons for it that she can overcome. But from a wagering standpoint, if I was playing, I'd bookend the field and I'd go 1 and 12.
Just a couple of horses left to go. In fact, 3 more, as the number 11 Baydon at 99-1 takes her spot in the gate. But he's Sam Camacho Jr. Number 6 horses coming up. That is Graceful Gal, a couple of the bigger priced horses. The 12 Old Harbor, Easy to Spot Silks in the pink. And here's Larry Colmus with the Ticonderoga.
They're off in the Ticonderoga. Discreet Mark had a good start, but there goes Invading Humor up to take the early lead. And Mahjong Madness is second on the outside. Discreet Mark is sitting in third toward the rail. And then it's Graceful Gal in fourth. Old Harbor is fifth on the outside as they enter the back stretch. And then the Teacups, followed on the inside by Distorted Beauty. Break of another length and a half more, then Neck of the Moon, who races to the inside of Swear By It as the field straightens onto the backstretch. And then it's back to Selenite, Unbelievable Dream, and last of them all here is Baydon. First quarter was 23 and 4/5 seconds. And up the backstretch, Invading Humor is the leader on top a length and a half. Mahjong Madness second. And then comes Discreet Mark, who's third to the inside of Old Harbor. And in between those two, Graceful Gal goes up in fifth after a half mile in 47 and 2/5 seconds. After that comes the Teacups, Distorted Beauty to the inside, followed by Swear By It and Neck of the Moon. Selenite is after that, An Unbelievable Dream. Around the far turn, Invading Humor. Mahjong Madness to the outside continues to cling to her. Old Harbor is next. Discreet Mark saving all the ground. She's down on the inside. She's 2 lengths off the lead as they come toward the top of the stretch. And they have to come and get Invading Humor. Mahjong Madness moves up alongside of her. Discreet Mark's got plenty of work to do. She's down toward the rail. After that comes Old Harbor. And Old Harbor is gaining ground. Discreet Mark is not. She's not going on here. It is still Invading Humor. Invading Humor is the leader as they come down toward the finish. And Invading Humor is going to go all the way. It's a blanket finish for second. Looked like it was Distorted Beauty who was on the line with Neck of the Moon and Swear By It.
She got the stiff warm-up, broke away from the pony. Richard Migliore said there was intention out of the gate with her early speed, and Invading Humor led every step of the way.
Once again, proving speed is always dangerous. What's wrong with going to lead? They've got to run. Where have you been, Andy?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't understand why so many people want to rate. And you know what? I saw Mike Tanuzzo, the assistant trainer to Bruce Levine, and I said, you're going to use the 7 as a rabbit? He said, we think we can win with her. I thought he was crazy. They just got $60 on the win end.
And a real good ride by Jose Lezcano. You know, leaving with a plan, pulling off the plan. He allowed her to drift a bit in the stretch, making sure he allowed her to see her competition. And then there was a little bit of traffic jam in behind her.
Yeah, she certainly did get the traffic. And the 5 Discreet Mark got shut off. Whether she had horse or not, we don't know. I thought Jose Ortiz made a mistake overcommitting the rail with the 1 when he had a chance to get out in the backstretch, and that sort of hurt her rally at the end, but she did have her chance and didn't get second.
No, I think we got to give some credit to the winner, and I will say Discreet Mark, yes, she checked. She was an empty horse.
She was. She just didn't end her career on a high note, but she did so many good things in the racetrack, and she remembered for what she did, not what she didn't do at the end.
Yeah, we looked forward to her becoming a hopefully successful broodmare and wish her all the best in what will likely be retirement off the non-effort in today's Ticonderoga, as Jose Lezcano might be a big fan of the New York Racing Series. He swept both stakes today, guys.
And he did it with good rides in both situations. You know what, Richie? The key to both rides was aggressiveness.
Yeah, being aggressive. You know, it's interesting looking at Jose Lezcano's career. He's not backed by one big barn or has a couple of big outfits behind him. He seems to be alive in everybody's barn. He might not be 1-2 in the rotation, but he seems to be able to ride for anybody.
And he does a good job, and once again, aggressiveness paid off. I like Jose as a rider, and we saw 2 terrific riders for him.
Jason Baides has his book, and Bruce Levine, I guess he is no longer pigeonholed as just a dirt or claiming trainer. He can win on the grass.
Well, for a guy that's trained over 2,000 winners, he shouldn't really have any, basically be pigeonholed as anything. He's a winner. The guy knows how to win.
It's amazing how long Bruce has been successful. It's a very tough game from day to day, month to month, and year to year. And Bruce Levine has been a mainstay in New York for a long, long time, and he wins consistently. And you can't do that unless you are a very, very good trainer.
And we do await the place photo. It was very close. 3 or 4 of them were heads up and down on the finish line for the second spot. In fact, for the Exacta Tri and Super, everything is close. Maggie standing by with winning trainer Bruce Levine.
A very emphatic winner's circle here for today's Ticonderoga. Bruce, we're still waiting on the photo, but it looks as though the 2 sisters may have taken the Exacta here. Invading Humor, a very heads-up ride and plan with her to go straight to the lead.
Yeah, that was the game plan. We figured we put one on the lead, and the other filly's a little bit better coming from behind, so we had 2 sisters team up for him today.
Well, going into the race, she was obviously the longer shot, 29-1 on Invading Humor. What were your feelings about how both of them were training?
In my mind, I always thought Distorted Beauty was better than her, but this one's like an overachiever. She keeps proving me wrong, and she loves Belmont, so.
Any plans for these gals later on?
I might kick them out for the winter. That's what we did last year. It worked well. They came back and ran good, and I think we'd probably definitely going to give them the winter off. So.
Well, Bruce, congratulations. We're pulling for you. We hope you got the Exacta with the 2 sisters.
We got it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And we may have to do the New York Racing Series again for the sheer fact we had a pair of full sisters, first and second of the Ticonderoga, and a dead heat for the show. So we'll have a couple of different tries and super payouts. Hopefully we'll have the prices for you before we sign off the air. And there is a jubilant Jose Loscano talking some post-race strategy and what happened here with the speedy Invading Humor, who's really been an overachiever. The Invasors, and she is a 5-year-old mare by Invasor, haven't been very good. Her and her sister have been the exception.
No, absolutely. Invasor is a good turf sire for the owners of these horses, and that's probably all they care about, Richie.
Well, and the fact that they bred this horse, I mean, it's a family affair, and to finish 1-2, I mean, it's got to be pretty surreal for them. And obviously the one horse should have been a little bit closer, but they didn't care, did they?
No, I think they're very happy with their 1-2 finish, and to see full sisters like that run 1-2, it's pretty rare.
And this was a terrific day of racing. Number of top horses stepped up and ran big. We had a number of close finishes. NYRA.com, Breeders' Cup Talk and News next week on Belmont Insider, and we're back at it tomorrow with the first race post of 12:55.